Good evening, county supervisors, staff, and any guests who might have wanted to come this evening. I don't see anybody, but it's great to be back in the county boardroom again. It's great to see all your faces again, and it's great to be able to talk to each other again. Hallelujah. Okay, we'll have roll call. Please punch your ballot. All right, we have 19 present and 2 are absent. So we have a majority vote, so we will continue on with our meeting. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like a motion to approve the agenda, amended agenda. I have a motion by Supervisor Schwallenberg and a second by Supervisor Booty. All in favor?
Wait.
I didn't. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. You may now vote your ballot. Supervisor Hanchik, would you confirm, and Supervisor Stoffel? Thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. We have a majority vote. You've had the minutes of April 20th. Motion to approve. I have a motion by Supervisor Karth and a second by Supervisor Draheim. Are there any questions about the minutes or corrections? Seeing none, please vote your ballot. I have 19 yes, 0 no, and 2 absent, so we have a majority vote, and the approval of the minutes have been adopted. Moving on to communications.
We have one communication, which was a letter from the Realtors Association of Northeastern Wisconsin regarding the use of federal stimulus funds.
Okay, we'll just place that on file. Public participation. Don't see anybody. All right. Moving on to special business, we'll have the introduction of our new K-9, Alek, and his handler, Ken Matuszak. You want to come forward? Alek is our second K-9 for the county.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to keep this short because as long as he's here, you're not going to pay attention to me. I get that. So real quick, a little bit about our second K-9. We were able to raise $101,000 over about the last 3 years to fund our K-9 program. So after we raised that money, we were able to go ahead and pick a handler. Deputy Ken Matuszak is one of the people who applied and was awarded that position. From there, Ken went down to the kennel, which is located in Dodge County, Iron Ridge down Dodge County, and they paired up Alek with him. So Alek's been on the street now roughly a month and a half, give or take?
Since mid-February.
Okay.
Yep.
As you know, he's our second K-9 that's out there. Our first K-9 is Deputy Will. He is with Amir. They've been on the road about 6 years, so they're about 3/4 of the way through their useless life as far as a dog is concerned on the road. Those times vary depending on the dog and depending on the health of the dog. So I'm going to turn it over to Ken. He'll tell you a little bit about what their training was about, what Alek is capable of doing. He'll also tell you a little bit about the health problems that Alek had and where he's at today with those health problems. So I'm going to turn it over to Ken and let him talk to you a little bit. Go ahead, Ken.
This is Alek. Alek just turned 2 years this past week. He was born in the Netherlands, came to the U.S. Fall of last year. I went through a 5-week training process once I was paired with Alek. We started beginning of January. Mid-February, we graduated from the training. He's been with me since the beginning of January. With that training, Alek is considered a dual-purpose dog. It's actually a multi-purpose. It's more than just 2 things he can do. But he's trained in drug detection, tracking, and patrol work. Patrol work is referred to as like apprehension stuff if we need to. His primary use is drug detection. That's what we use him for quite a bit, the majority of things. During the training that I had with Alek, he acquired a medical condition. Dogs have multiple salivary glands. 2 of their glands are underneath their neck. They have 1 underneath their tongue. They have 2 underneath, 1 underneath each eye. The 2 underneath his neck, for whatever reason, we'll never know for sure 100% what happened, but they became damaged to the point that they were leaking some mucus into the neck region. So with that, end of March it was, Alek went out of service. He was out of service for 5 weeks. He ended up having surgery down at Port Washington. He ended up having surgery down in Port Washington, where he had both of his salivary glands underneath his neck removed. They call it salivary mucocele. Basically what it was is the mucus was affecting the other glands and causing some swelling in his neck. So he had those removed. It's not going to deter his ability to work at all. He still has 3 other glands to be able to slobber up the ball. So that's not a problem. So he has been back to work now 2 weeks, actually about 2.5 weeks we've been back to work. And in those 2.5 weeks he's had 8 deployments and contributed to 5 drug arrests in just the last 2.5 weeks. So if anything, I think that having those glands removed has increased his sniffer because he seems to be doing good with that. Alek is, he stays with me at home. He's with me all the time. He is a lover. He loves to be around people and pet. But that's Alek.
No treats, huh? No
Nope.
treats?
Nope, we don't give many treats. The only thing he gets is his kibble food. And the reason we don't do treats is because if we're out doing a drug detection at a residence or a vehicle, and there happen to be treats in that vehicle or in the home, we don't want him to self-serve himself those treats. So he learns that the only thing he is allowed to eat is what I give him at home in his food dish. Other than that, he doesn't eat anything.
Are there any questions about the dog?
Do you have a family?
I do. Yep.
Does he interact with the family? Is that okay?
Yes, yep, so he interacts with the family. I have 3 kids, a wife, and I also have 2 other personal dogs at home. He does not interact with my personal dogs, and that they smell each other through the kennel and that. He'll come in the house, he'll interact with my family, or we'll interact outside, but if he's outside, our other dogs are inside, and if he's inside, the other dogs are outside. We walk them together. When my wife and I will go on a walk, we'll take all 3 dogs, we'll walk together. That's not a problem because they're on the leash, but they're not free running around, being able to wrestle around and play with each other. But yep, there has not been any issues at all with that.
Okay. Yeah, Mary?
I think the thing that some of the board members that haven't met the other dog, Amir, don't realize the difference between the 2 when you said that he's a loving dog. This dog just jumps all over you. Yes.
He craves
Amir, you
attention.
can't really get too close to. Right?
There's a different temperament with both dogs.
Yeah.
Obviously, Amir, you would not walk up to him. He would not allow you to do that. Now, if the handler gets him in a certain position, gives him certain commands, you can. But as a general rule, Amir, you pretty much stay away from him. Much different than Alek.
Right. And that can change as the years go on. There's many things that can change the dog. Some of it can be what all happens during work, during training. Alek he's a young dog yet. As the years go on, he might create a different type of personality. That's not uncommon for any dog, not just working dogs. But as of right now, he's a lover.
Well, thank you much for bringing him. We
Yep.
certainly appreciate it.
Not a problem.
I'd just like to thank the whole board and Alice for all of your support in this program. It's been great. We use them a ton, been very successful, and whether it's monetary or getting your votes to move ahead with these things, it's been very appreciated by myself and the rest of the department, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Resolution 2021-04.
Resolution approving amendments to Town of Chilton zoning ordinance on certain property in the Town of Chilton, property of Daniel and Jamie Wiieting, introduced by the Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee.
I have a motion by Supervisor Booty and a second by Supervisor Draheim. And Supervisor Husberger, would you speak to this resolution, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Town of Chilton forwarded a zoning map amendment to Calumet County for approval. Although the Town of Chilton is not under county zoning, according to state statute, the county must approve the map amendment. Wisconsin Statute 60-23 specifically states in counties having a county zoning ordinance, no zoning ordinance or amendment or a zoning ordinance may be adopted under this section unless approved by the county board. The Calumet County Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezone after finding the zoning amendment is not in conflict with the county zoning jurisdiction or regulatory authority such as shoreland zoning, land division, or wetland floodplain zoning. The Town of Chilton followed the proper administrative procedure in adopting the zoning map amendment.
All right, are there any questions regarding this resolution? Supervisor Booty?
Yeah, not a question per se, but Beth, I think I too quickly made a motion here on the board. We're on special business 7.1. The agenda is 8.1. Would you like to do anything there?
No, that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Supervisor Schwanger?
Just one question. Is this the same property that we okayed a few years ago to build a garage or a storage building on, or is this a different piece of property?
I do not know. Chris?
Evening, everybody. So yes, this is the same property. Essentially, the parcel is kind of an odd configuration. The garage itself is located to the northwest of where the residence portion of this particular parcel is. So it sounds like from what the Wietings were stating, they're going to be basically tearing down the existing residence that's out there at some point, and they also will be building a house and a pool house as well as a pool on this particular property.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. There are no further questions, so would you please vote your ballot? Supervisor Stoffel and Supervisor Irwin, would you please confirm? Thank you. All right, we have 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. We have a majority vote, so that resolution has been adopted. Moving on to Resolution 2021-05.
Resolution approving amendments to Town of Chilton zoning ordinance on certain property in the Town of Chilton, property of Robert Harder et al., introduced by the Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee.
All right, do I have a motion to adopt? I have a motion by Supervisor Booty and a second by Supervisor Draheim. And Supervisor Hufberger, would you please speak to this resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Town of Chilton forwarded a zoning map amendment to Calumet County for approval for the same reasons that I just noted on the prior ordinance. The Calumet County Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezone after finding the zoning amendment is not in conflict with the county zoning jurisdiction or regulatory authority. The Town of Chilton followed the proper administrative procedure in adopting the zoning map amendment.
Okay, are there any questions regarding this resolution? If not, please vote your ballot. We have 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. We have a majority vote, so that resolution has been adopted. Moving on to Resolution 2021-06.
Resolution authorizing participation by Calumet County in the state-funded snowmobile trail program, introduced by the Parks Commission.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Steer, or by Supervisor Draheim, and a second by Supervisor Karth. And Supervisor Schwallenberg, would you speak to this resolution?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We approve this resolution every year. It's money we get to do maintenance on our trails, our bridges, whatever is necessary. If anybody has any questions, Adam is here to answer them.
All right, are there any questions regarding this resolution? If not, please vote your ballot. Supervisor Irwin, would you confirm, please? Thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent, so that resolution has received a majority vote and is adopted. Moving on to Resolution 2021-07.
Resolution amending the Articles of Organization and the bylaws of East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, introduced by, or submitted by East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Steer and a second by Supervisor Booty. Supervisor Gens, would you want to speak to this?
Thank you so much. I think I will speak to it by saying that our relationship, our membership in the East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission is a very, very important one. It gives us an opportunity as a county to work with our neighboring counties and to address issues that are germane to all of us. And I'd like to introduce Melissa Kramer-Badke. Melissa is the Executive Director of our East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, and it's undergoing some change in terms of its bylaws and so forth to become more responsive to the needs of the counties as we work together. And so, Melissa, would you address some of the changes that are being made that are part of this resolution?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Kramer-Badke. I've been with the Regional Planning Commission for 18 years and was appointed the Executive Director last August. Last year, the Commission underwent some changes. The Commission Board adopted a reorganization plan which aligns our core program areas of economic development, transportation, and water quality management as our core focus areas, along with assisting local communities on comprehensive planning and open space recreation plans. As part of that reorganization plan, we also worked with the steering committee and our board to discuss streamlining some of our internal and external processes, which includes the changes to the bylaws and articles of organization that you have in front of you tonight. With those changes, one of the things that we're looking at is the removal of the gubernatorial appointments. Currently, the commission has 8 member counties. Each county has a gubernatorial appointment to the board, which has been cumbersome for some of our member counties in terms of appointments for that position and refilling that position. What the commission has recommended in the proposed changes for articles of organization and bylaws includes that the gubernatorial appointments would be removed. The counties would receive appointments based on a couple of items. Each county would have at least 3 county board members. The county board chair, a county board executive if they have one, otherwise there would be a county board supervisor appointment. For every 50,000 in population that the county has, they will appoint the mayor or city council president or other representative on the commission board. For every 50,000 in population thereafter, that initial 50,000, there will be a county board supervisor appointment that will be made by the member county. So included in your packet, you will see that for Calumet County currently, you have 4 board members represented on the commission board. That would be reduced to 3 with the proposed changes. And with the proposed changes, we have to follow the Wisconsin state statutes in terms of our composition for the commission board. And with that, we need a resolution of support from local units of government. That includes counties, towns, cities, villages, with a majority of the population. And on April 30th, the Commission Board did approve a resolution in support of this change, and currently we'll be going to each of the county boards that are members of the Commission to talk about this resolution in terms of the articles of organization and the bylaws. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Are there any questions of Melissa regarding the resolution? I don't see any. Supervisor Rehheim, did you have a question? All right. Seeing none, please vote your ballot. Supervisor Hofsberger, would you confirm, please? Thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. It has received a majority vote, so that resolution has been adopted. Thank you, Melissa. Moving on to Resolution 2021-08.
Resolution terminating Calumet County Emergency Declaration, Public Health, COVID-19, introduced by Supervisors Schwallenberg and Getz.
All right, Supervisor Schwallenberg, need a motion to adopt. Motion by Supervisor Steer and a second by Supervisor Booty. And Supervisor Schwallenberg, would you speak to this resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I'm sure you're all aware, the CDC has passed new criteria that if you're fully vaccinated, you no longer have to wear a mask or maintain social distancing. And this has made changes for everybody in this country. And so we never did have a mask mandate in this county. And so this is to terminate the other things that we did do. I'm sorry, but I just, the CDC came out with these guidelines with quite a surprise to a lot of people. So we're kind of, some of us are kind of in a quandary. The schools and the hospitals and everybody, I believe those entities will still require masks when you enter their businesses, and a business can still require if they want. But the county is choosing to terminate our emergency order.
Is there any questions regarding Resolution 2021? Supervisor Karth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the courthouse itself, there's no mask requirement to be in the courthouse at this moment, right?
Following the CDC guidelines.
Okay. So again, I'm going to approve this because it is the CDC guidelines. I just want to speak to, we have parents with young children, we have WIC members, we have a lot of people coming into our building to receive care services that are similar to being in a healthcare provider's office. Picking up formula, and I would like us to think about maybe even just in those spaces of having something to protect those children who cannot yet be vaccinated. Thank you.
So just to be clear on that comment, we are doing that. So we have outpatient mental health clinics. We have WIC appointments, although they're not in person yet. So we have some time, and we're developing some of those very specific policies. For example, the doctor clinic that's taking place in the Appleton office tomorrow will require masks because it is considered a healthcare setting, and they'll have close contact. So we are including those in the plan.
Does that answer your question? All right, thank you. Supervisor Glickner?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to clarify what, other than mask wearing, what are the most common things that we were controlling before that we won't be controlling after we adopt this? And if I could ask that of the county executive, please.
So our declaration was fairly broad on purpose. It was early in the pandemic and it was broad. And we really only did internal policy change, which we would likely have been able to do anyway as a matter of policy. So when we reviewed it, Kimberly and I had the conversation about what's the impact from withdrawing it right now or rescinding it right now. Are there any things currently in place? And there aren't. We didn't have specific enforcement of mask requirements. We never had, well, we had a mask order, but it was very brief, if you recall. We put it out one day and took it back the next based on, I forgot what it was, if it was legal opinion. We were legally able to, but others were not. So this does not impact anything that we currently have in place. We're still able to do policies for this building and any of our county properties without this in place.
So not a lot is going to change. Am I correct?
Well, the policies have changed, and we continue to follow the CDC guidance, so we're going to continue to keep pace with that as best we can. But other than that, it's going to be managed in the same way that we have been.
All right.
Kimberly just reminded me that one of the other purposes of this initially was to qualify for some of the FEMA dollars.
Okay.
So that was in place, and actually Bernie's the one who continues, your emergency management manager continues to remind me, you may want to rescind that. So he's supportive of us taking this action as well.
All right, thank you.
Supervisor Voigt-Cohn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is what is our vaccination rate for the county, for Calumet County? Where are we at currently? I guess I'm asking this question of our county, oh my goodness, of Todd. Yes, and how are we doing in terms of the number of people contracting COVID currently? Thank you.
The last information I have regarding vaccination distribution is 40.5% of Calumet County residents have received at least one dose of the vaccine. So that's a little over 20,000 people. And 35.5 or almost 18,000 of residents have completed the vaccine series. And I don't know if, Matt, if there's anything other than that as far as vaccination rate that you would have or that I should share. Okay. The COVID numbers. So the COVID case summary that I received today for the month of May, so that's through May 17th, 21 7-day case number. I'm sorry, 17th. It's through the 17th. I get confused by this data. So the positive cases overall were 21. Active cases went down by 1, so they're about 49, but the numbers have significantly declined overall.
Thank you.
Supervisor Gens?
I just wanted to make a comment. Although we really never had to use the emergency document or the vote that this board took, I just wanted to say how very proud I am of all the staff members in the Health and Human Services Division and the leadership that Todd provided as a former director over there. This county really took some leadership and made some pretty hard decisions in terms of dealing with the pandemic. And it took a lot of effort on the part of a whole lot of people to bring us to where we are today. So I just wanted to comment and commend all the people that were involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gintz. Anyone else? All right, please vote your ballot. Supervisor, we have 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent, so we have a majority vote, so that resolution has been adopted. Moving on to ordinances, ordinance 2021-01.
Ordinance to amend the Calumet County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 32, County Trunk Highways, Section 32-71, introduced by the Highway Committee.
All right, do I have a motion to adopt that ordinance?
Hold on. Give me a second.
What's that? All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Steer and a second by Supervisor Karth. And Supervisor Draheim, would you speak to this resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, we're slowing down people on EE before the campers and all that are coming in too fast. And we're trying to get the speed limit down to 35 for a portion of it. And it states here how far it is. So that's it. If there's any questions, I can take care of them, I hope.
Are there any questions of Supervisor Draheim? Supervisor Stillman?
What was the speed limit previously?
55.
Okay. And you're going down to 35?
Well, there is a 35, but we're extending the 35 out further.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Supervisor Hanschke?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to ask, are we including signage?
Of course. That's what we do. Mhm.
Okay. Supervisor Hartle?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm real happy to see this ordinance and the next one brought forward. It was requested by one of my constituents because they walked those roads and they saw potential for RV, pedestrian, car, whatever. So I'm real happy that this came through as quickly as it did. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hartle. If there are no more questions, please vote your ballot. (19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent). We have a majority vote, so that ordinance has been adopted. Moving on to ordinance 2021-02.
Ordinance to amend the Calumet County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 32, County Trunk Highways, Section 32-71, introduced by the Highway Committee.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Booty, second by, somebody want to second that? Second by Supervisor Schwallenberg. And Supervisor Draheim, would you speak to this resolution?
Sure. This came from us from Brown County, coming into Holland Town, yeah. They're trying to reduce the speed to bring it down. And since one of our D also, we have to sign it on ours so we get the speed limit down as slowly as possible. Let's just help out there so that people slow down a little bit instead of speeding through there.
Okay, are there any questions about this ordinance? I don't see any, so please vote your ballot. Supervisor Draheim?
Oh, I thought I did.
19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent, so that has received a majority vote and that ordinance has been adopted. All right, moving on to ordinance 2021-04.
3.
3? Thought we just did that one.
No.
Oh, excuse me, 03.
Ordinance to amend the Calumet County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 32, County Trunk Highway, Section 32-71, introduced by the Highway Committee.
All right, do I have a motion by Supervisor Steer and a second by Supervisor Booty? And Supervisor Dreheim, would you speak to this ordinance?
Okay, we just talked about the speed limit 35. We had talked, the committee talked about having from the state highway 55 and then down to 45 and then down to 35. Well, that meeting and discussion came, it was good because we said let's just do 45 to 35 and forget about that, because you're coming up the hill and all of a sudden you'd be going 45. So this makes sense. It's finally something that makes sense. So any questions?
Are there any questions of Supervisor Dreheim? All right, if no, please vote your ballot. It's not confirming. Yeah. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent, so that ordinance received a majority vote and is adopted. Right now, moving on to ordinance 2021-04.
Ordinance to amend Chapter 82 zoning code on certain property in the town of Brillion, property of R&J Legacy Investments LLC, introduced by the Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee.
I have a motion by Supervisor Booty and a second by Supervisor Schwallenberg. And Supervisor Huffsberger, would you please speak to this ordinance?
Thank you, Madam Chair. R&J Legacy Investments, LLC, wishes to rezone approximately .77 acres of land located in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, Section 18, Town of Brillion, from Commercial Center, CC, to Mixed-Use Commercial, MC. The rezone will allow for the subdivision of the existing 1.55 acre parcel and permit the existing residential use of the property. The remaining .77 acres of the parent parcel will remain in the CC district. The Town of Brillion recommended approval of the zoning map on May 11, 2021. After a public hearing, the Calumet County Planning and Zoning and Farmland Preservation Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezone after finding the petition will not significantly impair or negatively impact current or future land uses in the area. In accordance with the Calumet County Year 2025 Comprehensive Plan and the Town of Brillion Comprehensive Plan, the subject parcel is intended to remain commercial. With a proposed rezone from the mixed-use commercial to the commercial center zoning district, the rezone will remain consistent and not contradict the town or county comprehensive plans. The proposed rezone and successive land division will meet the minimum dimensional and use requirements in accordance with Chapter 82 of the zoning ordinance.
Okay, are there any questions regarding this ordinance? I see none, so please vote your ballot. Supervisor Hetzke, to confirm. I did confirm. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. It has received a majority vote, so that ordinance has been adopted. Moving on to ordinance 2021-05.
Ordinance to amend Chapter 82 zoning code on certain property in the town of Charlestown, property of Daniel and Shirley Dahlman, introduced by the Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee.
I have a motion by Supervisor Booty. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Dreheim. And Supervisor Huffsberger, would you speak to this resolution?
Thank you,
Or
Madam
this
Chair.
ordinance, excuse me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Daniel and Shirley Dahlman wish to rezone approximately 34.50 acres of land located in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, Section 1, Town of Charleston, from exclusive agriculture, EA, to agricultural residential, AR, and exclusive agricultural preservation. Approximately 1.64 acres of land will be rezoned to the AR district, and approximately 32.86 acres of land will be rezoned to the EAP district. The rezone will allow the Dahlmans to split off the residential portion of the land, as well as preserve the majority of the parcel for agricultural production. The Town of Charleston recommended approval of the zoning map amendment on May 12, 2021. After a public hearing, the Calumet County Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee voted unanimously to recommend the approval of the rezone after finding the rezone of approximately 1.64 acres to the AR district will not substantially impair or limit current or future ag uses in the surrounding parcels of land. The proposal includes rezoning approximately 32.86 acres of land to the EAP district, which will prohibit future non-farm residential development. The rezone is consistent with the Calumet County Farmland Preservation Plan for 2020 to 2030, the Calumet County Year 2025 Comprehensive Plan, and the Calumet County General Zoning Ordinance. In addition, the rezone will not be a detriment to adjoining agricultural owners or the uses of nearby properties, and will preserve the majority of the agricultural land.
All right, are there any questions regarding this ordinance? Supervisor Draheim?
Thank you. Why do we want to do part of that, to get out of the preservation part? They're planning on building there or something, or why?
Chris?
So they will be preserving approximately the 32.86 acres, which will go into the exclusive ag preservation district. Then there's approximately 5 acres that will remain in the exclusive ag district. It's all based on the ratio of 1 to 20. So for every 1 acre that they're going to take out for residential, they then have to convert 19 acres over to the exclusive ag preservation district. So that basically encompasses the 32.86 acres. So that's why they have that remnant portion that's still remaining in exclusive ag, because they already accounted for everything that they needed to in the 1.643 acres of residential.
Clear as mud.
Exclusive ag zoning, unfortunately.
I know, I've always had a problem with rezoning. All right.
Okay, if there are no other questions, please vote your ballot. (19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent). The ordinance has received a majority vote and is therefore adopted. Moving on to ordinance 2021-06.
Ordinance to amend Chapter 82 zoning code, introduced by the Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee.
I have a motion by Supervisor Steer and a second by Supervisor Booty. And Supervisor Huffsberger, would you please speak to this ordinance?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For approximately the last year, Planning and Zoning and Land Information Department has worked on the process of updating Chapter 82, zoning of the Calumet County Code of Ordinances. The proposed updates and revisions of the amendment comprised of minor changes of the ordinance, which focus on formulating errors, citizen and town requests, and to maintain the compliance with the Wisconsin state statutes. These changes do not constitute a comprehensive revision of the ordinance. The Planning and Zoning staff has met with each of the 4 townships currently under county zoning, and no objection has been received regarding the proposed amendment to the ordinance. Additionally, Letters regarding the proposed ordinance changes have been sent to every township in Calumet County, and no concerns or objections have been received. After a public hearing, the Calumet County Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of the ordinance amendment after finding the ordinance amendment meets the requirements of amendment requirements contained within Section 59.69 of Wisconsin statutes. The proposed changes to the ordinance correct several minor errors that currently exist in the ordinance and addresses changes requested by citizens in the townships and county zoning. The proposed changes update the zoning ordinance to maintain compliance with Wisconsin state statutes.
All right, are there any questions regarding this ordinance? It's a long ordinance. I hope everybody's had a chance to read it. Supervisor Draheim.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate that you finally did something with containers on page 83. Shipping containers is always seems to be a problem. I do have a problem with, it says in there that you will have to screen it from adjacent properties. If it's in a field next to you, all the way around you, why do you have to put up screening of some sort? I mean, that's, to me, it doesn't make sense.
So the intent of the screening requirements are to essentially try to protect property values for residents in that area. The screening requirements are primarily to block view of that particular structure, being the shipping container, from roadways as well as from adjacent residences. So that's the primary intent of it, to protect property values for residents.
But it doesn't say residents, it says all of them. So if you got them on a farm and you put them there, you still got to put up the fence.
Right, and we typically still receive complaints from residents too, so it's kind of an all-encompassing portion of the ordinance. The other issue that was raised was the potential color of them, where people don't like the fluorescent colors that they have as far as what they're painted. The easier option as far as maintenance goes was to include the screening requirements, not necessarily the painting. It opens up a can of worms by requiring the painting of them and the overall maintenance. So that's why we went with the easier option in that regard.
So what happens with existing containers? Are they under this, or are they grandfathered, or what?
So as far as existing containers that were out there, the previous ordinance in itself actually did not permit them at all.
Oh.
So they're not necessarily grandfathered in that case. They would still need to maintain compliance with the existing zoning ordinance as well as the one that's being proposed. So any of them that are out there would either need to come into compliance, or they would essentially have to be removed in that regard.
So if they weren't in compliance, why didn't you stop them? Because we got them all over.
Yep, so like I said, we've been working on this for about a year. We knew that this was going to be a component of the ordinance that was potentially going to be updated. So we've been working with the townships. We've asked them multiple times as far as their input goes. We've also been working with the committee too. So we wanted to wait off on enforcement standards go from that regard. We didn't want to essentially tell them, well, you have to remove this now, and then we changed the ordinance in less than a year, and then, okay, now you can bring it back. So we were trying to avoid that potential conflict with the current ones that were out there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? If not, please vote your ballot. We have 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. It has received a majority vote, so that ordinance has been adopted. Moving on to supervisor reports, please indicate on your ballot if you wish to speak or report on anything you might have been at lately. Supervisor Schwallenberg.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Back to human services and the CDC criteria. It's still on everybody's honor, if you're not fully vaccinated, to wear a mask. And you can choose to wear a mask wherever you want. I do, yet, because I have grandchildren. that I take care of that have not been vaccinated as of yet. They are in the age group that they can, should their parents choose to do that. But, basically, you know, you can, it's a matter of choice in your honor. If you have noticed on the back table there are some annual reports. This is the Human Services reports. This will explain every service that we provide, how many clients we have, and cost. So it'll give you some idea of what the department does. I would encourage you to pick it up. It's very well done. Our staff and Lynn, our deputy director, they do an excellent job every year of doing that report. I agree with Supervisor Gens. Our staff in all of Human Services has stepped up. They have delivered meals to shut-ins because our volunteers weren't able to do it. They've done contract tracing and all kinds of things. They have really stepped up, and we appreciate that very much as a county. Today I was on a meeting with NACO, with the central section of the country. Homeland Security was on. There's the one thing, if everybody hasn't gotten their license yet, as you know, the new license, driver's license with the star so you can fly, they have extended that limit now to 2023 that you've got. It would have expired, you would had to have had it by October of this year, but now the time frame has been extended for that. Lynn Brenner, our deputy director, presented us with strategic goals that will be added or that become part of our strategic goals. As far as parks, we didn't meet this month, but Adam has come up with some goals for parks too, so that they are available. Our camping season is in full force, and it was earlier because we had nice weather and the lake flies. And if you haven't looked at our Facebook page, I would encourage you to do it, because you can go look for Daryl. And I'm not going to tell you who Daryl is out at the county park, because if you find him, you will get a gift. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Schwallenberg. I'd just like to remind the supervisors in your committees that June 28th is the last time you can offer a resolution to the WCA Board of Directors for approval or to be included in their platform. So if any of you are thinking of any resolution you feel you need to get through, it needs to be sent to Mark O'Connell at WCA. Also, every Monday, and usually it has been going on since the pandemic, the WCA has listening sessions. I don't know if any of you have tuned into them, but they cover everything from budget to redistricting to legislation that's going on. They're very, very interesting, and I'd encourage you to listen to them. Right now, they're in the budget areas, and it's usually at 11 o'clock on Mondays. And you can even ask questions through the chat if you wish. So there's a lot of good information there. They're also talking about redistricting, and so all these type of things are coming down the pike. So I urge you, if you have time on a Monday morning, please listen. And that's all I have. Supervisor Steer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to report Harrison has hired a new village manager, Matt Heiser from Kewaskum, and he starts June 22nd. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Supervisor Stillman.
Thank you. I don't have anything to report. I have a question for Kimberly.
Yes?
On the Purdue Pharma, that opioid claim deal, anything come of that ever, or ever hear anything about it, or?
They're still in negotiations, and one of the defendants or respondents, they're going to court, so they're waiting, and I think that trial is set for a month. and I believe it's in Virginia, West Virginia, I believe. So negotiations are stalling to see what happens with that trial, and then they believe a watershed will happen once the results of that trial come out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Supervisor Drahan?
Alice, can you tell us what's happening with redistricting, or have you been updated, or is anybody?
Matt, would you want to give an update on the redistricting? It's a question that's being answered. May we answer it? It's not on the agenda, but it is a question that's come forward. We'll put it on the agenda for next month.
Nothing's been decided, so there's nothing more to give.
Right.
It's all been discussed. I mean, it's still in discussions.
Push your button. I mean, you can,
Super-
but it's not working.
I have a request to speak, but I can't.
Hope wants to speak, but her button's not working.
All right, Supervisor Holt.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to the ADRC for providing amazing service through the pandemic and finding new ways to reach fairly vulnerable populations and people who needed that outreach. So I want to recognize that. We talked a lot about the challenges of our aging population when it came to technology concerns, and that really became obvious that there's a gap during this pandemic where people had to find ways to get vaccinations online, and they didn't know how to necessarily navigate the web or navigate a computer. So we found some resources for aging populations, disabled populations, anybody 55 and over, that I just wanted to let you guys know of in case you know of people in your districts who could use these. So AARP has some free computer classes that'll help people learn how to navigate the web, how to navigate their own computers, tablets, devices, phones. Medicare has a skillful senior class, a senior's guide for computers, and a class called Tech Boomers, which I kind of like that name. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, we got my in-laws enrolled in this, but the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh and all Wisconsin universities, we got them involved in Oshkosh. They have a program called Learning in Retirement, where if you're 55 or older, you're able to take classes through UW-Oshkosh, UW-Stevens Point, whatever, and you're able to audit the classes. So it really, they were able to go into bird watch, classes about birds, they're bird watchers, some other things. So things to just pass on to your constituents if they find that they are in that category and are looking for that little extra. Right now, we're kind of in this real in-between moment where these may be some safe things to pursue. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Kurth. Supervisor Schwallenberg.
Thank you. I just wanted to reply, and it goes back to the leadership sessions with WCA on Monday. Andy Phillips usually is on there, and he talks about the two things that were brought up, the opioids and redistricting. So those usually are talked about at that meeting, and that's at 11 o'clock by Zoom on Monday mornings. WCA handles it, Mark O'Connell, and it only lasts an hour or less, depending upon how much they've got to talk about. Okay?
Thank you. All right, moving on to County Administrator's report. Any questions regarding his report? Supervisor Steer?
Just about the county sales tax collections. Is that the same as last year, above, behind? 1.4 is, do we know if it's?
When I looked at it, Pete, now this is my limited recollection because our finance director followed that. When I looked at it in the last time, it was on target or very similar collections as we had in the past. As Dan would talk about those months where we would go up and down, it's following the same pattern.
I know I always ask for.
Yeah, so it's following the same pattern as best as I can tell.
Okay. All right, there are no other ones. So we have an appointment to the Chilton Library Board. Recommend the appointment of Rosemary Schneider to fill the unexpired term of Lori Leppin. The term will expire July 1st, 2021. I have a motion by Supervisor Booty and a second by Supervisor Karth to confirm this appointment. Are there any questions? Supervisor Schwallenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And you hesitated at the date. I'm wondering why, too, we're appointing for just a couple months.
Well,
Or you're appointing, I should say.
Because we're following the terms. So the vacancy occurred, we'll follow the terms that they have, and then the person can be reappointed when the term ends. So we're just keep in line, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we have a reappointment to Veteran Service Commission, recommending the reappointment. Oh, I'm sorry. Way ahead. Are there any questions regarding that? All right, please vote your ballot. Yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. That confirmation has been approved. All right, now moving on to the reappointment to the Veteran Service Commission of William Gruby, whose term expires April 19th, 2021, and the new term will expire April 15th, 2024. Do I have a motion to affirm? We have a motion by Supervisor Diedrich and a second by Supervisor Booty. Any questions regarding that reappointment? If not, please vote your ballot. Supervisor Irwin, would you come there? Thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. We have received a majority vote, so that reappointment has been approved. Our next regular meeting will be June 15th at 7 p.m. And there being no further business to come before this session, I move for adjournment.